Welcome to this MBL webinar on AI, governance, and the law, where we're going to be looking at risk, regulation, and responsibility. Today, we're going to be covering four main things: an introduction to AI, who is responsible when AI causes harm, and some case studies on that. Then we'll be looking at global AI regulation across different jurisdictions around the world. And finally, we will look at some practical tips on how firms can establish governance environments for their AI systems. In terms of introductions, my name is Jacob Turner. I'm a barrister at Fountain Court Chambers, where I specialise in the governance of AI. I'm the author of a book called Robot Rules: Regulating Artificial Intelligence, which looks at why AI is legally unique, what problems it could cause, and how we can solve them. So turning to our first topic, an introduction to AI. AI is an unusual term in that it's very widely used, and yet we lack a shared definition of what it means. And the problem with that from a legal perspective is that people can end up speaking at cross purposes. And I don't think it's good enough to do what a US Supreme Court justice once did when speaking of hardcore pornography. He said, "I can't define it, but I know it when I see it." But the trouble with that for AI is that if you don't define your terms, you don't have legal clarity. And for anyone who is a lawyer and you start to read a contract, the first thing you will usually do is you look at the definitions, because unless you have clarity on the definitions, you cannot have clarity on the rights and obligations. So I'll start off with my definition of AI, and that is technology which is autonomous. That's to say, it can take decisions without being explicitly pre-programmed as to how those decisions ought to be taken. It can be contrasted with technology that is automated. Now, all traditional software programming is automated. It follows a series of logical propositions. If X, then Y, if Y, then Z, such that with any given input, you will always have the same output.